Hello and welcome to Lesson 2 for Education for Nepal English Group's History Group. And today we are going to be talking about ancient Greece, which is the first part of the Greece and Rome lessons. This is a simple timeline of Greece. As you can see, ancient Greece begins with Bronze Age Greece, with the Asian civilization, and that is followed by many periods until you reach medieval Greece. It lasts from about 3000 BC to 320 AD with the end of the Roman Greece. Asian civilization is a general term for the Stone and Bronze Age civilizations of Greece around the Aegean Sea from the periods respectively about 7000 to 300 before common, not before common, BC for the Stone Age and about 3000 to 100 BC for the Bronze Age. Below is the periodization of ancient civilization with mainland Crete and Cyclades. With early Helladic from around 3200 to 2000 BC, Middle Helladic from around 2000 to 1500 BC, Late Helladic from 1500 to 1000 BC, and Minoans from 2700 to 1100 BC, and Cycladics from 2300 to 2100 BC, after which they merged, I think, with somebody else.
So
Yes.
why is it called aging civilization? Because it's a general term of all the Asian civilizations around the Aegean Sea and Greece. So as you can see in the picture, the Aegean Sea is part of the Mediterranean Sea, and it's surrounded by uh, civilization, so it's called aging civilization. And now we can see an overview of the pre-Greek civilization's geography. It's generally between what we call Turkey now and what we call Greece now. And now we're gonna talk about little aging art. So aging art covers two major pre-Greek civilizations, the Minoans and Mycenaeans. This unit provides a nice segue between ancient Near Eastern art and Greek art. Both the Minoans and Mycenaeans were influenced by these earlier civilizations. Their writing systems, for instance, are thought to be adaptations of Egyptian and Mesopotamian systems, and the Mycenaeans, who eventually colonized Minoan Crete, were the immediate forerunners of the ancient Greeks. Uh, Aging art is a wonderful place to talk about the ways that artistic representations expresses cultural values for the Minoans in terms of their relationship to the environment, and for the Mycenaeans in terms of displays of political power. These two concepts are still very palpable in students' lives today, and it's fun to use this lesson as a way for them to think about how contemporary visual culture relates to our social, political, and geography relationship. Uh, this is also a good chance to introduce the concept of institutional history or historiography. Both the Minoan and Messenian sites were discovered and evacuated around the turn of the last century by Western archaeologists who had their own culturally specific agendas. Finally, aging art is a wonderful opportunity to introduce the question of epistemology. How do we know what we know? The Minoan culture is an especially good place to get students to question their assumptions about what art means. You might begin the class by showing a simple Minoan object, such as the octopus flask, which is shown on the right side, and ask students to do a quick free write about what they think it symbolizes or represents. Then either right way or later in the lesson, you can ask students to think about what evidence they would need in order to prove their theories. Evidence that is unlikely to be available since we have no decipherable written documents from the Minoan culture and thus know little about their specific beliefs and traditions. And now we're gonna talk about some like unfamiliar words in this passage. So would you please back to the last slide? Now we're gonna look at the word like Minoan and Messenians. They are all names of the prehistoric. Oh, it may not be prehistorical. It may be pre-Greek civilizations, like in the Bronze Age. There are all names of these ancient civilizations. And also Mesopotamian and Egyptian. There are Mesopotamia is an Middle Eastern Asian culture, and Egyptian is Egyptian. And also like from what consists of from what make this word up. So this word is made up of the particle for and runners. We know runners. They are like a person who are often on a race, and they are ready to run to like pass beyond each other to get a medal. And for is a prefix which means before. So forerunner is before, and runner, which means a run before someone. This means kind of this means the sort of ancestor of the ancient Greeks. And then we'll look at palpable. What does this mean? This means that like you are able to detect or you're able to feel in your life today. That is what palpable means. And contemporary. Contemporary means that like the like the history from the World War II to sort of Renaissance, like a Renaissance. It's kind of understood as contemporary. So now we're gonna continue to the next slide. Uh, so would you please look at the word institutional history or historiography? These two words are kind of it is the study of the methods of historians in developing history as an academic discipline. Uh, and by extension, is any body of historical work on a particular subject. This is what those who write history studies. And would you please look at the word epistemology? So I don't really know how to pronounce this word. But this word means a philosophical study of the nature of origin and limits of human knowledge. The term is derived from the Greek word which means from the Greek word episteme, which means knowledge, and logos, which means reason. And accordingly, the field is sometimes referred to as the theory of knowledge. It's kind of a philosophy.
Cycladic civilization between 3200 and to 1100 BC, and during the early Bronze Age period, starting from the third millennium, the civilization's Cycladic culture developed in the region of the Cycladic island, and the civilization was divided into three periods: early Cycladic, and middle Cycladic, and the late Cycladic period. During the early Cycladic, this period was divided into three phases, named by the minor places of the origin of the discoveries. First, growth of hills and these two phases, and during the middle Cycladic period, it's about 2000 to 1500 BC. All coast ports and were on the trade between the Crete and the rest of the Greece. The late Cycladic period is they were generally influenced by the Menominee Sea, that domination. And here is a last slide is so in the first maybe more than 1000 years is the early Cycladic period, and here's the middle Cycladic period, and here's the late Cycladic period. Here is some art product during the early Cycladic period. As you can see, the time is just like the early phases divided into three phases right here. You can take a look of these images.
Anyone want to go? Okay, so Cycladic figurine. These artifacts are created in the 3rd millennium BC on the Asian islands. These marble figurines depict woman and man. The objects, vessels, tools, weapons, and jewelry made of marble, clay, meals, and obsidian. Canonical marble figuring was also called canonical due to the overwhelming majority of figurines sculpted in the early Cycladic II periods. When Cycladic art was at its zenith, they usually represent nude female figures with arms folded above the abdomen, which is, I think, your stomach, slightly flexed knees, and a barely uplifted backward slanting head. Canonical vary in size and on styles. The Minoan, also known as the Crete. Minoan is ancient civilization flourished at about the same time period with Cycladic. Minoan civilization is mainly concentrated on the Crete islands south of the Aegean Sea. This is the first advanced civilization in Europe, has building complexes, tools, art writing systems, and trade network. It is named after the king Minos. It ended during the early Greek Dark Age.
So this is the myth of the Minotaur, Theseus and the Minotaur. So once upon a time, a long time ago, there lived a king named Minos. King Minos lived on a lovely island called Crete. King Minos had a powerful navy, a beautiful daughter, and a really big palace. Still, now and then, King Minos grew bored. Whenever King Minos was bored, he took his navy and attacked Athens, a town on the other side of the sea. The people of Athens soon grew tired of the bully, King Minos. All the people of Athens agreed that something had to be done. Athens tried to make friends of King Minos, but nothing seemed to work. In desperation, the king of Athens offered King Minos a deal. If Minos would leave Athens alone, Athens would send 7 Athenian boys and 7 Athenian girls to Crete every 9 years to be eaten by the Minotaur. The Minotaur was a horrible monster that lived in the center of a huge maze on the island of Crete. King Minos loved that old monster. He did like to give his monster a treat to eat now and then. King Minos knew his people would prefer he fed his monster Athenian children as a treat rather than the children of Crete. King Minos took the deal. These are pictures of the Minotaur's maze. 9 years passed swiftly. It was just about time for Athens to send 7 boys and 7 girls to Crete to be eaten by the Minotaur. Everyone in Athens was crying. Prince Theseus of Athens was very young. He knew that a deal was a deal. Still, he was sure that it was wrong to send small children to be eaten by a monster just to avoid a battle with King Minos. King Theseus bravely told his father, the king, that he was going to Crete as the 7th son of Athens. He was going to kill the Minotaur and end this terror. The Minotaur is a terrible monster. What makes you think you can kill it? Cried his father. I'll find a way, Theseus replied gently. The gods will help me. He was determined. He promised his father he would return with white sails to show he was alive. Theseus took his place as the 7th Athenian boy. Along with 6 other Athenian boys and 7 Athenian girls, Prince Theseus sailed towards Crete. When the prince and the children arrived, King Minos and his daughter, the stunning Princess Ariadne, came out to greet them. The king told them that they would not be eaten until the next day, and to feel free to enjoy themselves in the palace in the meantime. The Princess Ariadne did not say anything. Her eyes narrowed thoughtfully. Late that night, she wrote Prince Theseus a note and slipped it under his bedroom door. Dear Theseus, Ariadne wrote, I'm a beautiful princess, as you probably noticed the minute you saw me. Without my help, the Minotaur will surely gobble you up. I know a trick or two that will save your life. If I help you kill this monster, you must promise to take me away from this tiny island and marry me. If interested in this deal, meet me by the gate to Liberty in an hour. Yours very truly, Princess Ariadne. Prince Theseus slipped out of the palace and waited patiently by the gate. Princess Ariadne finally showed up. In her hands, she carried a sword and a ball of string. Ariadne gave the sword and the ball of string to Prince Theseus. Hide these inside the entrance to the maze. Tomorrow, when you and the children from Athens enter the labyrinth, wait until the gate is closed, then tie the string to the door. Unroll it as you move through the maze. That way, you can find your way back again. The sword, well, you know what to do with the sword, she laughed. Theseus thanked the princess for her kindness. Don't forget now, she cautioned Theseus. You must take me with you so that we can get married. A deal is a deal. The next morning, all the Athenian children, including Prince Theseus, were shoved into the maze. The door was locked firmly behind them. Following Ariadne's directions, Theseus tied one end of the string to the door. He told the children to stay by the door. Their job was to make sure the string stayed tied so that Theseus could find his way back to save them. Theseus entered the maze alone. It took him a while, but he finally found his way to the center. Using the sword Ariadne had given him, Theseus killed the monstrous beast. He followed the string back and knocked on the door. Princess Ariadne was waiting. She opened the door. Without anyone noticing, Prince Theseus and the children of Athens ran to their ship and sailed quietly away. Princess Ariadne sailed away with them. On the way home, they stopped for supplies on the tiny island of Naxos. Princess Ariadne insisted on coming ashore. There was nothing much to do on the island, and soon she fell asleep. Many people gathered to watch the sleeping princess. She was a lovely sight indeed. All the people agreed. Theseus sailed away with the children of Athens and left her there sleeping. After all, a deal is a deal. However, he was cursed for abandoning the princess. He returned to the kingdom of Athens. On his approach in his ship, he changed the sails to black. His father, who was waiting on his cliff for his return, saw the black sails and wept. He leapt into the sea and died. Theseus' trick had worked. With his father dead, he was able to become the king of Athens. However, he spent the rest of his life racked with guilt. His life became one of misery and pain.
Does anyone want to go? Okay, I'll go then. Mycenaean late Bronze Age. The civilization got its name from the citadel of Mycenae in the Peloponnese, where once stood a great Mycenaean fortified palace dominated the mainland of Greece. At around 1600 BCE, the shaft graves at the site of Mycenae are built. These are two circular walled plots containing graves built some 50 years apart. They're called Grave Circle A and Grave Circle B, where archaeologists found gold objects such as masks, necklaces, wrestles, cups, oxes, crowns, breastplates from the grave circle. There are many bodies surrounded by precious objects. The Greek mainland enjoyed an era of prosperity centered in such strongholds as Mycenae. In general, in the second half of 13th century BC, trade was in decline in the eastern Mediterranean, most probably due to unstable political environment. The mask of Agamemnon is a Mycenaean metallurgy. It's found in Grave Circle A, and its appearance is a man with a triangular face, bushy eyebrows, narrow nose, pursed lips, a mustache, and stylized ears. The materials used to create the mask were thin sheets of gold through a carefully method of metalworking, fragile, carefully crafted, and laid over the face of the dead. Okay, next up is the reading. The early period, the Minoans. Does anybody else want to read? Okay.
Named after the king Minos, the Minoan civilization was the first civilization in Europe. It was located on the island of Crete and the other islands in the Aegean Sea from sometime before 2000 BC to 1450 BC. Since Crete is an island and is relatively isolated from the rest of the world, the Minoan civilization wasn't too concerned with invasion. They didn't have to spend their time and resources developing armies and weapons. They were free to concentrate on economic growth. This made it possible for the Minoans to grow enough food so that not everyone had to farm or hunt. Some were free to create art, fashion, jewelry, or to make items that people used. Still others became merchants, trading food and items with those living on another Asian islands and those living on the continent. Minoans exported oil, wine, jewelry, and crafts. They imported many raw materials. Uh, Social equality, the wealth produced by trade and had two effects, which were very unusual in the ancient world. Um, the first was social equality. In most Asian civilizations, there were distinct classes such as the nobility, the priest, and the poor. On Crete, while some were wealthier than others, most people prospered enough to have food and live in fairly large homes. Even women seemed to be treated well, which was rare in the ancient world. This is also the reason. This is also the reason why, like Greece and Rome, they first developed democratic systems. I think. Uh, so their leisure time, the second benefit of wealth was the Minoans had leisure time to devote to activities not directly related to survival. Uh, so as we all know, Asian people, they just don't have really much productivity to support themselves to survive. So it's very unique that they have leisure time, free from the worries of finding food and shelter. Many Minoans became interested in other activities and sports such as boxing and bow jumping. Bow jumping involved a jumper, I think, taking a charging bull by the horns and either jumping onto the bull's back or leaping over the bull, turning somersaulting in the air, and then landing on his or her feet behind or beside the bull. Both young men and young women participated in this sport. Can someone go?
Building palaces and homes. The Minoans also have enough wealth to build many towns, which is centered on a large palace. One palace Kaunosis covered over 3 acres and had over 1,000 rooms. Some of the Minoans' palaces even had simple pumping systems with toilets. Minoans also built the large, comfortable homes for all the people, including the poor. Most homes were 2 stories, with home up to 5 stories high. The defeat of the Minoans. The Minoans served on the Crete for about 5 centuries. Then in 1450 BC, they were conquered by the Mycenaeans, who had developed a civilization on the Greek mainland. No one is quite sure why the Minoans were conquered. Some think an earthquake, volcano, or environmental damage on the Crete and ruined their uh, uh, agriculture and trade.
So the following is a knowledge check. First, it's matching. The answers are Minoan civilization is the first civilization in Europe on the island of Crete and other Aegean Sea islands. Exported is sent out of a country, while imported is brought into a country. Social equality means when all people in a society are treated the same. Leisure time are activities not directly related to survival. Ball jumping is grabbing a ball by the horns, flipping over it, and landing on one's feet on the ground, while Knossos is the main city of Crete that had a huge palace. Following is multiple choices. Since the Minoans lived on islands, they did not have to worry as much about developing what? The answer is armies. Who was the king of the Minoan civilization for whom he was named? The answer is D, Minos. And that's the end of today's lesson. Thank you guys for coming and see you next time.